Welcome. Today we're going to learn to convert a equation of a circle that's written in general form, and we're going to convert it to standard form. Now, general form means we have everything on one side of the equation equal to 0, and each term is individual. Like you have an x squared term, you have a y squared term, you might have a 6 or an x term, you might have a y term, and then you might have a constant. Okay, you always actually should have a constant. That's going to affect the radius. That's not the radius yet, but you might not necessarily have the x term or the y term because the shift or it might be centered at 0, 0. If you don't see an x term, then it must be centered along the y-axis. If you don't see a y term, it must be centered along the x-axis. But since this has both a x and a y term, we know the center is off the origin somewhere. Now, the whole process in converting from general to standard form is the process of completing the square, but we have to do it twice. We have to do it with the x variables and we have to do it with the y variables. And so watch carefully and then try to remember these steps. The very first step is you want to group the x terms together. You want to group the y terms together on the left side of the equation and take the 14 over to the right side. Get it out of the way. The 14 isn't going to, we're going to deal with it, but it's not the right number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to group the x squared term and the x term. Now, as I do this, I like to leave a space after it. Then I'm going to do the y squared term plus, and put a plus there to make sure you remember this plus y squared plus 10y. Again, I'm going to leave a space, and I'll tell you what that space is for in just a minute, equals, and then I'm going to bring that 14 over to the right side. So all I did was rearranged, minus the 14 to the right side. I got the term that has no variable by it on the right side of the equation. All the terms with variables are on the left side. And I've grouped the x squared and the x term together, and I've grouped the y squared and the y term together. Now what we need to do is make a perfect square of each of these trinomials. I want this trinomial, it's not a trinomial, but if I put a third term here, it'll be 3 terms. And remember, the process is to take half of this term here. What's half of 6? It's 3. Now, it's not 3 that we want to square that number. So when we square it, we get 9. So I actually want to add 9 right here. Now, this is an equation. So since I added 9 to the left side of the equal sign, I better add 9 to the right side to keep it equal. I need to do the same thing here. I need to take half of this y term's value, half of 10, which is 5, and square it. So half of 10 is 5. I square it. I'm going to add in 25. But now again, since I added 25 into the left side of the equation, I need to also add 25 to the right side of the equation. Now, these first 3 terms are a perfect square trinomial. It's a parentheses x, again, half of this term plus 3 squared. Then I'm going to put a plus, parentheses, and again, these 3 terms are a perfect square. It's a y, again, plus half of that term, so plus 5 squared, equals, now remember, the 25 is this 5 squared. The 10y comes from foiling. I have a 5y plus another 5y, and then the y times the y is the y squared. Same thing over here. X times x is x squared. X times 3 and 3 times x is 6x. When you add them together, and 3 times 3 is 9. Add all these together. So we got, what is that? 25 minus 14 is going to be 11 plus 9 is 20. If I did my math correctly there. Yep, 20. So we've written our equation in standard form. This circle has a center at -3, so its center is -3, -5, and it has a radius a radius of the square root of 20, or if you reduce that, 2 square roots of 5. I hope you remember how to reduce radicals. So there's the radius. Again, walk through that process slowly. Now, the only difference, if you have a minus in here, now the x squared and the y squared should never be minus, because those are actually hyperbolas, and we'll deal with those another day. So the x squared and the y squared will always be positive or plus, but the x term and the y term might be minus, but that's all right if that's a minus. Then it's just a minus, which means it's shifted to the right. And this is a minus, and it's shifted to the, or shifted up rather than down. So if you have any questions on how to do this, I will walk through it again in class. Please let me know.